Welcome to International Creole Heritage Month. We miss seeing all of you in person so very much, and our programming this year is a little bit subdued. But we have chosen to look outside our genealogical families this year and ponder the lives that they led. We decided this year to look at the lives of our ancestors through the lens of hardships. Their hardships were no less difficult than our own today, and in many ways, they were much harder. We will cover herbal medicine, death records, pandemics, difficult discoveries, and lastly, a Mobile History Roundtable discussion with Chuck Torrey. Today, we want to give a warm welcome to Bekka Laurent. We know her as our registrar, but in her own time, she is a master herbalist, recreating tinctures, drawing salves, and other remedies that individual families may or may not use anymore. Welcome, Bekka.
Thank you. So today, I am so pleased to be able to be here and present this presentation. So I guess with that, let's begin. Awesome. Okay, so let me start off by introducing myself. My name is Bekka Laurent. I am a master herbalist and holistic living specialist, as well as what Tracy had already pointed out. I hold the office of National Registrar for MCCHPS. I know this is all a mouthful, but don't worry, there is no test at the end of this. The only thing that I want you to remember is that I am so happy to be here with you today. So let's begin with today's presentation. It is herbal medicine through the ages and what its connection is to the Mobile Creole community. When given a presentation like this, the first thing that I like to do is to define what I am presenting. So today, I want to define what herbal medicine is. All right, the definition of an herb is a plant or a part, whether it's the leaves, the seeds, the flower, or the root, and these plant parts benefit humans. These plant parts can be used for flavoring, food, beauty, or even medicine. So herbal medicine is usually natural substances like herbs to manage our health. This is the way we were designed to function. Using herbs is nothing new. Sometimes people speak of herbalism as an alternative medicine. The implication is that conventional pharmaceutical medicine is the standard and anything else is inferior. Despite the criticism of herbal medicine among mainstream medical professionals, it is wise to remember that herbs have a long history of use. Since the beginning, people have been using herbs for nourishment and medicine. Many plants produce a positive change, such as increased perspiration, bowel movement, urination, relief of pain, even hallucination, and of course, healing. Observation of these benefits have been passed down for generations, with each generation adding to and refining the knowledge base of our local plants. Every culture in the world has developed a base of herbal knowledge in this way. In fact, 2/3 of the world's population still use herbal medicine as their main form of healthcare. An advantage of using herbs in your healthcare plan is that herbs are readily available, as was to our ancestors through the millennia. Here in our area, the European settlers brought their known herbal medicine with them as they settled their new lands. They cultivated herbs like sage, rosemary, yarrow, and thyme. As they came in contact with indigenous people of the area, if they were wise, they would have learned the remedies made from the local plants as well. Some of these plants are still used in certain circles today. Plants like mangliere, sureau, and verge d'or grow all across the South. And for us English-speaking folks, this herb is consumption weed. Then we have elderberry, and here is goldenrod. As a master herbalist, I know of and use these plants in my herbal medicines. That is because, for the most part, herbal knowledge is not discarded when the patent runs out like modern pharma. In my field, we learn and grow from every plant we use, every remedy we make. We learn from the past and we grow with science. We adjust according to the knowledge that we have at the time. Another custom of herbal medicine that has been followed through the ages is that we focus on the whole body instead of chasing one symptom at a time. To do this, we focus on the body and how it's running, and whether we need to eliminate something from the body like a toxin or add something that is missing like nutrients. This is done with the body as the center of thinking. We focus on function of the body, not fighting some phantom beastie that is looking to attack us. We all have heard of the stories through time with the modern medical establishments creating their ghastly inventions of the day. Like there was bloodletting with rusty flames and bleeding bowls, and damage from heavy metals like lead and mercury. Or worse yet, taking those nasty concoctions of Lord knows what the doctors made of the day. All the while, the healers, yard women, the midwives, wise women, or even the infamous names like witch were working quietly in the background. All too often, these services were done without pay, or at least how we think of pay today. For the most part, gratitude was given from the people on the receiving end of the needed help. Throughout history, healers have received payments through tangible goods instead of money of the day. For their time and effort, they might be taking home a few eggs, maybe a keg of cider, or even a side of lamb, depending on what was even available to the receiver of these services. But that doesn't mean that these healers were working thankless jobs or living and destitute in the community. Though we don't have a lot of records in history from healers of the past, the few that we have had survived the ages give detail of what we would think of it a rather middle-class life. Many times it is not the journals or personal records that give history of these people. It's the civil records recorded and kept that provided information about these special people in society. Today, I have the rare opportunity of bringing together passions of mine. I get to talk about the science and experience of herbal medicine. I get to talk about history of folk medicine and tie in my obsession with family history in the way it was back then. I will be tying all this together with a pretty little bow. I will be doing this as I bring back to life as I have grown to think of her at this point. Today, I want to present to you Mobile Creole's very own wise woman, midwife, or even perhaps how the Louisiana Creole call them, the traiteurs or the treaters or local faith healers. So let's meet Nanette Nicholas. I learned of her existence some time ago when I decided to see if there were any Creole healers that I could find in history. With a search through the 1860 Mobile census, I found Nanette Nicholas, age 96, with the occupation of a retired midwife, which is close enough to what I was looking for. As you can see in this census, Nanette was blind, living with her daughter, Catherine Durrett. Armed with this information, I was taken through all sorts of twists and turns through Creole society and Mobile history in general. Needless to say, or maybe it is needed to be said, Nanette did not make finding out about her life all that easy. I searched and found so much more than just her, but a huge understanding of the woven fabric of Mobile history in general. Though today I don't have time to give all of the details of this fascinating plot's twists and turns, I can give a snippet of what I think her life could have been like as a Creole woman healer in colonial Mobile. Nanette was born in the mid-1760s to Catherine Durand, a free slave, and Nicholas Mongulia, which is believed to be relations to the Dubuisson family of New Orleans, possibly what we call a love child. And I give her parents, or I bring up her parents today to give a little perspective of her connection to Creole society. The last name of Nicholas Mongulia means my friend in the Mobile jargon or trade language of the day. This gives evidence to think that Nanette was exposed to the native culture in the area, perhaps. And to give a perspective, Catherine Durand is the mother to Louisa Durand, the same Louisa with the relations to the Laurent family, and daughter Catherine Durand, and her relations were to the Bernoutis. Nanette also had 5 children, and I believe they were with Pierre Vivarais, which with this whole family group, they could be found residing on St. Francis Street, which is the north side of what is now Bienville Square. With all of this information, I can start to create a story of Nanette's social standing. I conclude that she was a prominent member of Creole society. I just wonder how many families can be thankful for her service as the local healer or midwife. How many lives were saved or how many babies were delivered in her long life of service. She would have had all the arsenal and all the arsenal of an herbalist of the time available to her. As a member of society, she could obtain and grow any number of European herbs, as well as having access to imported spices that she would ever need. And growing up with a father that had some sort of connection to the native culture, she could have easily gained some knowledge of the Indian shaman's way of medicine. Perhaps she used oil of evening primrose to ease birth pains, or maybe she just had the folk wisdom of cutting the pain with a knife under the bed. She would have had access to laudanum if she wanted to use it. This would have been to ease the suffering of her beloved people during, say, maybe a yellow fever epidemic, or perhaps she knew the seeds of the watermelon made an excellent treatment for going those pharmacy prices. I picture her giving sachets of aspidity or even garlic as a go-to preventative for winter ailments, or perhaps making sassafras tea for those unfortunate souls with the pox, or what we know is syphilis. It is safe to assume that she knew of goldenrod as it was about the same time that it grew in popularity in the colonies during the American Revolution. Though the Americans drank this as an alternative to British tea, did she know that this is a good treatment for swelling and sore joints? I would love to think that that's so. Did Nanette make elderberry syrup as a winter tonic, as I do each year? I would like to think that this is a very real possibility. Her black draw salve, was it made with lard and pine tar? Probably so. For those nasty chest congestions in the cold, wet winters, was her go-to peppermint tea? Or maybe it was eucalyptus oil or that nasty mustard seed compress the Europeans made? These are very good questions. These questions may never be answered, but one thing is for certain, that she at least had some success, or enough success in her practice, that we are all here today to testify that our ancestors made it through their lives despite the pest and pestilence of their day. And as a natural healer of my day, I am confident that Nanette gave all of the love and care that she could have in her long life. Herbal wisdom has been given to us by our Creator as the people's medicine. And though pharmaceutical medical wisdom comes and goes, the people's medicine and their practitioners are always working quietly every day to give their people the best life possible. And I am positive with this will continue long after I'm gone, as for these many years. Here, Tracy, I will open up for questions about herbalism, or what I know about Nanette and her family connections in the past. Do we have any questions today?
I have a question. If everybody can take their microphone off mute, that would be great, so we can interact here. Rebecca, that's for your first presentation like that. That's great, and I'm really, really excited. It'll be great.
Well, thank you.
But still, like I think I see loofah in
Yes.
this picture. There were people
Yes.
have grown that, and so that's something that I actually bought seeds to grow this year, but I got to wait till next year because they take a long time. But my interest is strength. Did they understand how to cultivate particular strengths, or did they know when it was a weaker version of the same herb?
Well, strengths, I still don't use the science of strengths. It's more of an alternate or intuitive medicine. You know, you kind of, as you use herbal medicine and interact with people, you get to understand it's not just a medical change that we're looking in the body. It's a mental change. It's the whole body as a whole. So strength really doesn't matter, if that makes sense.
So you're saying it's a little bit psychosomatic?
We could possibly say that, because they're even proving in, you know, the pharma that with science experiments, you know, the placebo effect. That a lot of what we do is our own healing to self. So if we believe that something is going to work, that is going to go a long way for it working over if we don't believe it's going to work. Not to say that these medicines or herbs don't have a physical effect on the body. They do, but a lot of it, I think we overanalyze or overthink today in science, that we're making it harder than it needs to be. If that makes sense.
Maybe. So basically what you're saying is it takes a holistic approach.
Yes, and just because I create one remedy or concoction doesn't mean that that is going to take care of the issue to the whole point. You know, it's a continuous care. And it's also, a lot of it has to do with nutrition that we are missing today, that they may or may not have had at that point in time, you know, whether they had access to fresh fruits and vegetables, or were they living off of just bread and water, or bread and beer of the day. You know, so that goes a long way in healing the body as well.
Well, for here, we're known for our satsumas and our oranges and some things. We, you know, the orange grove community, there were orange groves there.
Yes.
That's the, you know, and so we kind of pride ourselves on our satsuma trees. So, and I know there's one instance where I've read where Dr. Lazarus Schuss actually was promoting fresh fruit. So I know those kind of things were here, but in general, when you're talking about herbs, not all of these things were available locally out of the ground.
Correct. Well, for instance, like I had mentioned, aspidity, that would have been something that would have been imported all the way from India. And I bring that up because as a woman in social standing, she could have gone to a pharmacy and obtained that, and she possibly even could have had the funds to get that. But that's not the only remedy that you can use for that particular healing. You know, I had mentioned garlic. Garlic would grow in the South rather easily in the spring. Or you could actually use onion or go to some totally different remedy with a different thought process. But those options would have been available to Nanette as a woman in standing. You know, so I kind of look at her as a lady, not a peasant, as we would put them in social standing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the reason I think that she was a lady and not, say, a peasant or even a servant is, for one, she had multiple children with Pierre Vivarais, and two, she owned property through her father and through Pierre.
And I forgot what you said, how she's connected to the Nicholas.
Okay, Nicholas, she used that last name or that name as a last name in some of the documents, but that isn't even her actual last name. We find in Creole society, especially children that are born out of wedlock kind of thing, a lot of times they would pick up their father's first name. For instance, in the Laurent family, there are some documents that the children use Bartholomew, which would have been dad, as their last name instead of Laurent, or they would use it interchangeably.
Right.
One document would have been Bartholomew, another it would have been Laurent.
Like Regis Bernoudy's kids.
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
And I see Manette Nicholas doing the same thing. One document I have Manette Mongolia, and another document I have Manette Nicholas. Though I don't recall her actually using the Vivarais last name. Her children did.
Interesting.
Hey, Rebecca.
Yes, sir.
I know you've looked at the probate records. Have you looked
Yes.
at any? Have you found any receipts from some of the people that deal with your subject matter?
It's been mainly wills and deed records. I haven't found any receipts of like tangible goods or anything like that. Is that how you're using
Right.
the word receipt?
Right. You know, I mean, when they, if they owed money to the pharmacist, for example, or the local doctor, or the sexton, or whatever, and whoever it was. I mean, because they're full of, as you probably know, these little receipts saying you still owe me 20 cents for whatever the item was. And I was just curious to see if you had found anything that related to this.
No, I think the closest thing that I would have been able to find as of this far, which I don't consider her research finished at any means, but I do find, what was it? It was, she was behind in taxes 1 year, which gave validity that she did live. She lived on the north side of St. Francis. So it wasn't Bienville Square proper, it would have been on the north side of the street. And I can bring up that map. Let's see if I can find that map. And this is a working map, so things will be added to eventually. You know, I could possibly be wrong, but I don't think I am at this point. But this kind of gives a perspective of what was going on in the area. As you can see on the top side of the map, there was an Indian trading post right there by the Vivarais property. And then on the corner of St. Francis and St. Joseph, between the Bernoulli and the Durand property, at one point, Forbes owned that corner. He bought it from Catherine Durand, the mama.
Can you give us a time frame? Because I know Bienville Square became Bienville Square fairly early. So what time frame are we looking at here when we look at these different things on this map?
The city started buying the properties and pretty much had all the property in Bienville Square bought by 1840. So this is a time frame of, say, early 1800 all the way up to 1830-ish time frame. And you know, this is a continual study myself. Like, there's some of the property that I know the Vivarais or the Second Baptist Church ends up owning the property right about where that first V is, but I haven't found the transaction of when they received or got a hold of that property and who bought it. So it seems like the record might not even have been recorded at this point, but it could just be, I just haven't found it. And the same thing with Claire Favre. I don't know when she received that property or when that property was sold off to somebody else. I just haven't found that information either.
How do you know she had property?
Do what?
How do you know that if you haven't found a record for Claire Favre, how do you know that that was her property?
They use her as an example of what property they're selling. So the Vivarais owned like 4 different plots on that whole block. And when they sold one of the plots, they used Claire Favre as, like, she lives on the north side of this particular property. So they use reference to her or give reference to her in these documents.
So Chris, had that been any part of this Simon Favre tract? You know?
I don't know.
Does anybody else know?
Found that there are 2 different Claire Favres, just like what I've ran across with Manette Nicholas. There are actually 2 Manette Nicholases that only live a couple of blocks apart. One I have found that live further down St. Francis Street. I do believe that she was a either a servant or a freed slave of one of the Nicholas men of the time, and I think it was Leon that either owned her or had a relationship with her or whatever, but she has land over by Dubracas, you know, that land that we were looking at a little further down. But this Manette Nicholas is definitely attached to the Vivarais and Laurent, and I come to that conclusion with land sales on Bienville Square. It connects the Laurents, the Bernouillis, and this particular Manette Nicholas. Have I given too much information and now scattering the brain?
Welcome to my world. I live in the 1800s.
Yeah, and that would have been the King's Hospital that's the Spanish hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to. I'm geographically impaired, so I have to look at things sideways. How did you?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, and I was going to say that's why I went ahead and used the Google map. I just clipped out the Google map to kind of give perspective of what it looks like today, and then added the different names of whereabouts the properties that they owned.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was Honore Collins, I think, that was there. Because I think
Augustine.
I have a copy of that. Augustine.
I think that's, yeah, it was Augustine. Anybody have any other questions?
What document do you have that was the trading post?
I think I gleaned that information from the book from Hamilton, Colonial Mobile.
Okay.
And he states that the trading post was in that area, and that's why Forbes bought that property on the corner of St. Joseph and St. Francis.
That's an interesting statement.
Yeah.
I want to live next door to the trading post. Okay.
Well, Forbes was a trader with the Indians, between the Indians and the European settlers. So I could understand that statement, but I haven't tracked down specifically myself the documents to prove that was a trading post. But I thought it was important to kind of put that in there for perspective of what we were talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's interesting. And the Nicholas that's here, that is Manette's property and not Mongula's?
No, that Nicholas is, I do believe, Leon Nicholas, which is a totally different family, though it does marry into, the Laurent family over time. And I think some of the children might probably married Collins as well.
And how were you able to distinguish again the difference between the two Manettes?
With the different documents that the land documents, one may mention her as, for instance, the other Manette, they may mention her as Manette Nicholas, but they also, the next document may mention her as Manette Leon. And that's how I concluded that she somehow belongs to Leon, whether she is a former slave, a lover, or whatever. I think she, is that Nicholas. And then the same thing goes with Manette Mongolia or Manette Nicholas. It's obvious the same property or very close to it. In one document, it mentions her as Manette Nicholas, and then the next one in Manette Mongolia.
Wow. Are there any other questions that anybody might have? Michelle, Medina, Denise?
I have a lot of questions, but I came in late.
So come on. We still got 30 minutes if you want it.
Okay, all of the things, some of the things that she mentioned, I know was one thing she mentioned. I remember years ago when we had a grocery store, my parents had a grocery store. We sold a lot of those things in the store. And then all of a sudden, a lot of those items were taken off the market. And I was wondering, do they still like sell them at pharmacies now? A lot of those.
Of what I'm referring to is not sold at pharmacies because nowadays pharmacy is so commercialized. But
Mhm.
everything that I've mentioned are remedies that I create and sell in my apothecary store.
Okay. So your store, is it online?
I do have it online, or you can just call and let me know what you need, and I can ship it that way. But yes, I do have it online.
Okay, so like I can go there and look up different things and see what's good for what.
I may not say specifically what it's good for because of the language that we have to dance around. You know, we
I
can't,
understand.
yeah, I'm not a doctor, so I can't
Right.
cure, I can't diagnose, things like that. But, I don't have a problem talking over the phone or in communication on
Yeah.
this herb is known for this problem. This is probably what I would use for it.
Yes, I understand. I will be in touch with you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Medina,
Yes, ma'am.
do you remember Prid drawing salve?
What's it? Okay, say it
It was it,
again.
it was called Prid drawing salve. It was this black stuff, and you'd put it on a splinter to suck the splinter out of your skin.
I
Did
think
y'all
I
have
do
that?
remember that. I think I do remember that. We
Sounds familiar.
sold a lot of stuff in our little corner grocery store
Yeah.
that they took off the market.
Yeah.
And I mean, we sold a lot of it because people did not go to the doctor.
Right.
Right.
They didn't go to the doctor. And my mom she complained about it. She says, well, they've taken this off the market and they've taken that off the market. And what are people supposed to do?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'm bringing all of that back. And, Tracy mentioned drawing salve. I do make drawing salve, and I do make it the old fashioned way with lard and pine tar.
okay,
It
okay,
works.
okay. And then I just got so tickled when you talked about the knife under the bed. That just, I mean, that brought back a lot of memories.
Well, sometimes that's all we have.
Right. And there is something to be said for the mental idea of something really working, you know?
Right.
I mean, you hear doctors all the time say patients, that have cancer, it's a lot about the attitude and,
Mhm.
you know, how they accept it, how
Right.
they, the attitude about, their sickness. There's something to be said for that and
Right.
what you believe is working.
Correct.
But I will be in
Rebecca,
touch with you.
I don't know if you have your chat open, but could you list your website in the chat
Okay. Let me
at the bottom of your screen?
chat.
We have lined up, Medina, I don't think you were here early on. We've just been really subdued this year. We did not write a grant to bring in speakers from all over the place this year because I was just tired. But we have this month, let's see, next week we have Lizzie Ferris Boone with the local history library here. And she's going to discuss death records throughout the ages, basically over time, and how they've evolved and how to find them. And so we're excited to have her do that. We are going to have Darren Glassbrook the following week from the Mobile Medical Museum. And he's going to discuss pandemics in Mobile, the Spanish influenza, versus COVID now and everything in between, yellow fever, etc. So we are excited for that one. After that, our very own Dr. Sean L. Williams is going to have a discussion on hard discoveries, difficult discoveries. When you find something in your genealogical research that's really, really hard to discuss or bring up with family members or those people that you want to have the conversation with, and how to navigate those conversations. So I'm excited for that one. And for those of you who are familiar with Mobile History Museum, Chuck Torrey will be 80 years old in February, and he has graciously accepted our request to join us on the last weekend of October to just sit down and chat. He doesn't do technological presentations or PowerPoints, but we're just asking people to come, bring any Mobile history question you have, and he'll be available to answer whatever he can with regard to Mobile history. Once we lose him, once he retires to wherever he chooses to retire to, we're not going to have a lot of those treasures. Colette King, we no longer have. Ty Marston at Magnolia Cemetery has retired. And once Chuck goes, that's the big three, pretty much, I think. We still have, Cart Blackwell and John Sledge and whatnot, but this was a different group. And so if you have any questions regarding Mobile history, we certainly hope that you bring them at that time. We also have micro reunions, and I will get that online. I think the first one we're going to do is the Bodan family, and Linda Salas and I are going to host that. And I think what else do we have? The Laurendine, and what else was it, Chris? I've got it all written down, but I didn't bring it with me. Oh, see, Chris has his handy dandy notebook, just like Blue's Clues.
Gomez.
Gomez.
You can't see my notebook. I got my calendar.
Yeah.
I wrote it on my calendar because I forget otherwise.
There you go. So if anybody wants to help host one micro reunion, Treniers, Hermans, Lafargues, Hazers, Denise, who else are you connected to?
I'm connected to the Bodan family.
Okay.
Colin, the Reds, and actually this Catherine Duran you talked about today is listed as my 4th great grandmother. So I'm gonna go back and look at her.
So we would be connected because, I have the Laurents, the Vernudis, the Chastains, who else? Oh, and Herman in my family as well. So I would love to talk with Michelle.
Yeah. The Hermans and the Lafargues married each other also. Yeah, so anybody that wants to help host a Trenier family reunion, and it doesn't just have to be this month. It can be anytime during the year. Medina, we would love to have you, Elaine, Alex, whomever. Yeah, siblings can throw each other in the pot sometimes. I do with my sisters. But absolutely. So the Bodan family reunion, we will send the link out because I'm going to give it to Rebecca. Medina, did you get your copy of Mumbo Gumbo in your email?
I don't think so, but I'm sure it'll be here. I'll get it.
Yeah, check your spam, because I know I've got a couple of different emails, and mine keeps going to my spam or my other tab. So check those things. But if you don't, just email Rebecca or myself, and we'll make sure that you get one directly.
Okay, thank you.
And the physical copy is coming in the mail. So, and beyond, the 13th, sorry, backtrack again. Denise, please come join us, and Michelle and Medina, please come join us for the Bodan micro reunion, October the 13th at 6 p.m. I think it'll be Central Standard Time. Yes, Central Standard Time. And help us out because I have Bodan in my tree, but it's collateral. And Linda has Bodan in her tree, but it's collateral. So we really need somebody that's got some direct knowledge. So that would be really, really great. We'd love to have you.
Okay.
Beyond that, I think that's it. Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You did a
Excellent
wonderful job.
presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I
It's
enjoyed
been a
it.
pleasure.
Yeah.
And thank you. I enjoyed it. I just got my, I couldn't get, I couldn't speak. My microphone wasn't working, but it's working now. So thanks. I enjoyed it all.
Well, if you have any questions and want to speak up, we're happy
Oh,
to
no,
stay
I
and
don't. I
listen.
just enjoyed listening, and I enjoyed Medina talking about the products in the store because I totally remember all of that. I was sitting here trying to remember the names of some of them, but I can see the little bottles sitting on the shelf, and that's the way we sold it, in these small bottles, sometimes with an eye drop. So
Yeah.
Wow, that's really, really neat. Yeah. So see, maybe we could have a whole presentation on that, Medina. It could be a family thing.
We'll see.
All right. Y'all have a great day and a great weekend, and I hope to see y'all next week.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca.
You're welcome.